I'm just sick and tired of it. I don't want to watch these games. I want to see the best. We're still not exactly getting the best versus the best, but as the tournament moves on, we will be. I know the media loves the underdog, but there just aren't very many underdog stories. That's for Hollywood. Let's leave college football to trying to be to the best, trying to play the best. That was Paul Finebaum on an Alabama radio show this week, talking about something I've been talking about for some time: the inclusion of a Power Five champion. I don't know what they're called anymore. The non-Big Four champion in the college football playoff. This is just ridiculous, and I don't know about. I guess people love underdogs, but the fact of the matter is, the numbers show people don't care about the underdog, and there's a reason why someone's the underdog. You'd far rather always be the favorite. Um, you'd far rather be the favorite. You'd rather not lose as the favorite, but there's nothing you can do about that when once you've lost. Um, I've talked about this from the get go with this new format of the college football playoff. Um, we're getting so much right in college football in terms of the postseason, but the inclusion of Coastal Carolina, Liberty, Georgia State, Georgia Southern, Utah State, San Diego State, San Jose State, Coker. There's no reason for these teams to be playing the likes of Georgia or Alabama or Texas or Clemson in the first round of a playoff game. I mean, it just shouldn't be happening. It's silly. The one out of every 10 times that an upset occurs will be catnip for sort of the lunatic fringe of fans who want that. Um, it's not good for the sport. It's a total joke for everybody involved. And the fact of the matter is, if we're going to have 12 teams, it should be the best 12 teams. It doesn't even matter about who the conference champions are anymore. I mean, that used to matter. There was a time that actually really did matter. It was, particularly the four team college football playoff era. But even then, there were times when if you didn't win your league, you could still win the national championship. Alabama 17, Georgia 21. In the BCS, you didn't even have to win your division to play for the national championship. Alabama 2011, Nebraska 2001, I think it was 2000. We gotta. It was Nebraska 2001. We gotta choose what we're doing here and do that thing. We need to have the best thing that we've got moving forward. Excuse me. All of the other sort of dog whistles that Paul has in here are fine, but I do want to watch the games. I mean, unfortunately, if Liberty's playing, um, you know, Michigan State that Friday night, yeah, I'll watch it. I mean, unless there's a high school football playoff game I got to go to, but at that point in the year, that won't be the case. People will watch it; they just won't care, and that inevitably means instead of getting 15 million viewers, you'll get 11, and that 4 million is a pretty significant difference. Actually, it's not insignificant at least, but I think in terms of the sport itself, my background is coming from a very small college. We were always underdogs, even when we were upsetting people. You were the underdog because you were tiny and you just weren't as good. We did not belong playing against Purdue and Georgia. That's not. We shouldn't have been there, and we weren't. So there's a huge difference between a 14 or 12 team playoff and a 68 team tournament. Those are not at all the same thing. They're just not the same thing at all. And we've got to capture back and get back to the essence of sports, which is determining who the best people are on a given day. I do want to mention something. I'd be remiss if I did not. Bud King was a legend where I grew up in Tucker. He died this past week. And if you grew up in DeKalb County, if you ever played Tucker, you know who Bud King is. And for people who do not know Bud, stick with me for a second. He was about 10 years older than I was. He had special needs. I do not know what Bud's condition was, other than he was lovable. But he would let you know right away what you needed to do that day or night. When we were playing, Columbia or Lithonia or Marist or whoever, a big basketball game, big football games against Lakeside or, Marist or whoever. Bud was there to let you know that you needed to perform. Tucker took care of Bud. And it's really painful that he's passed away. And I don't know it doesn't sound like it's great what happened, although I don't know the details. I'll let the police handle that. Tucker really did care for Bud, but I want to say this too. Bud gave back to Tucker way more than Tucker could have given to him. And he was special in more than one way. But people in Tucker loved him. I loved Bud. Whenever I see him, whenever I saw him, when I would go back to Tucker and watch them play, he would say hello to me, or I'd say hey to him, and it was important. And guys like Thomas Brown, Patrick Pass, Corey Robinson, Brian Lamar, just if you played football at Tucker Football League or wherever, Bud King was, Bud King was special. Yes, he was special needs, but he was also special for us because he just cut through the bullshit. I mean, I don't really know other way to say it, and he cared about Tucker, and he cared about his community, and his community cared about him. It's sad that this has happened. When I was a teenager, I didn't know how old Bud was. Bud looks the same as in his 50s as he did in what turned out to be his 20s. But if you ever saw Bud walking in Tucker or, all that, just know that people loved him. I loved Bud. He was important for us. And he was not, I want to be clear about this too, because this is important. Bud was not just some guy that hung around. Okay? He was not just, like a mascot. That's not what Bud was. Bud was important. And, Bud mattered to me. I did want to say that. I wanted to make sure because this is making the rounds in Atlanta media. And Bud King was not just special needs, but he was important for those of us who grew up in Tucker, call it home, and played for Tucker. And if you played Tucker Football League or you played for the Tucker Tigers, or if you played against us, you knew who Bud was, and he's gone now, and that's sad. It's very sad actually. But I saw what Robbie Gilbert, who's a baseball coach now, I think at Brookwood, posted. I did not know about it until after a couple of days after it happened. I was in my own world, but it's very sad. If you know Bud, just leave a comment down below. I'll try to post as well about it. But I think Paul here, it's right. And I've talked about it for a long time, and I'm not going to stop talking about it. I do. My position on the college football playoff expansion is, yes, it's nice we're past 4, because this past year we needed to be past 4, and we didn't have that. 12 is probably too many. 14 is almost certainly too many. There are 2 things that we need to correct about college football playoff moving forward. A, that conference champions get buys, because the Big 12 is not going to be like the SEC. The ACC is not going to be like the SEC, and the Big 10 might not be like the SEC most years. Secondly, because Baylor there's no explanation for Baylor getting a bye if the conference runner-up from the SEC doesn't. It is very possible that Clemson could win the ACC this year. I mean, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility at all. And take losses to Georgia and South Carolina. Now, I don't, the likelihood of all 3 of those things happening is probably relatively low, but, Georgia's probably going to beat Clemson. And I don't think Clemson's probably going to win the ACC. I also don't think South Carolina's probably going to beat Clemson, but anyway, that's wrong. So we need to, let's get this right. And then, again, and this is not a corporate outfit. You're looking at the person that owns this deal here. We don't report to people in Nashville, Los Angeles, New York, Seattle, wherever. We report to the Dog Post dungeon. That's it. So this isn't some fly by night thing. We're not, that's not what we are. Okay. We are the little guy. Believe me, even as big as we are the little guy. There's nobody helping us. So I'm all for the little guy, but I'm all for sanity as well. And we cannot have this. This is ridiculous. And just because someone plays college football doesn't mean they should be in the college football playoff. It just doesn't. And I understand that people say this is political. Nah, this is just dumb. I mean, there's no reason why you got to placate, Coastal Carolina. I mean, there's just no reason to. You don't need to worry about what James Madison thinks or James Monroe or any other previous president, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. It doesn't matter. And so whether North Alabama wants to play in the college football playoff or not, or Brandeis or Queens in New York or Queens in Charlotte, it should just be the best 12 teams. There should not be a parameter on, oh, well, it's really neat that you won the American or that you won the Mountain West. I really like the Mountain West personally. I like to watch it. Or that you won the MAC. I mean, no one in the MAC is beating the number 5 seed. That's not happening, and we don't need that. Thanks for watching.